Yay, Melanie, it looks like you made it on.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. We're gonna give it maybe just another minute here. I'm gonna attempt to use my screen share and we'll see if we get anyone else that hops on. Can you see that?
I can.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Can you see the boxes on over to the left on the side, or do you just see the how to rock your open house screen?
Nope, I can see the boxes too.
Perfect. All right. I'm gonna try and make it so that you can. I mean, I guess it's not that big of a deal, but. So how are you today? What's on the agenda for today besides the open house class?
Well, actually, you're not in Rochester today by chance, are you?
I am.
Do you have any time today that you might be able to lend to me? It looks like I'm going to be doing my first solo open house this weekend. And so
Ooh.
I'm just, I need to get together with Heidi as well, but I don't know, do I need to get signs for that or do I use her signs? This is all
Yeah.
just,
So
it's
are you
happening very quickly.
okay? Are you holding it open for Heidi Skogaboro?
I am in Casson.
Okay, perfect. So I'm teaching this class and then I have to leave by like 12:15 to run to Faribault for some appointments that I have there this afternoon. So like physically, I'll only be here for about 15 minutes after this class. Are you here or are you tuning in from home?
I am at home, but I'm literally like 7 minutes away.
Okay, so since we're the only ones on right now, let's just spend a little bit of time chatting about that really quick.
Yes, please.
So the office has open house signs that you can come and borrow. You sort of check them out, quote unquote, like a library book. Uh,
Okay.
so you let Christina know how many you need, and then she'll just take your name, and then you just borrow them for the weekend and bring them back on Monday.
Okay. So I would come in and like pick them up like Friday afternoon or something then.
You know what? If you're gonna wait until Friday to pick them up, I would like call her now and reserve them.
Okay.
Or you could pick them up today as long as they're available.
Okay.
But I just wouldn't want to risk the chance of someone slipping in and grabbing them and you
No, sure.
so I would do that, but I would also I would ask Heidi to put it into MLS for you that you're holding it open. Are you doing it Saturday or Sunday?
Um, Sunday, she kind of had a shout out if somebody could do it, and I might be doing one for Jim Clark on Saturday. So I told her I could do one on Sunday. We've just been kind of talking on Facebook, so I'm just waiting for her to I kind of asked her, hey, can you get together with me for, a few minutes just to go over a few things because this will be my first solo. So I'm kind of waiting to hear back from her. If I don't, I might just try giving her a call here a little bit later.
Okay, perfect. So I would ask her to put the open house or Jim to put the open house, because that will syndicate out all to all the different websites for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that way you'll get some traction. I would post it to your personal Facebook page as well. And then I would either create some flyers or print like a one-page MLS sheet on it so that you have something at the open house to um, hand out with your contact information on it. And then of course bring your business cards.
Okay, so I should print out the stuff for the open houses. They wouldn't do that.
No, you would do that because you want to create something that has your name and your contact information on it, because the whole goal of you holding that open house is to pick up clients, right?
Okay.
So handing out information, you want it to have your contact information on it. So like if you're familiar with designs, you can go into designs and they already have pre-created templates in there where you literally just plug and play. Like you can upload your picture, your contact information, a photo of the house, and you can make a marketing piece like that within minutes. If you don't know how to do that yet, reach out to Lisa and see if you can schedule some time with her so she can show you how to do that this week.
Yeah, I've been trying to do that in design. I've gone in there several times, and every time I pick something to try to use, every time I, try to use one, I just end up on a blank page that says KW, and it never goes any further than that. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong. But
I don't either. So I'm going to tell you, to do what I would do, which is call Lisa. And she can carve out some time to help you between now and Friday to get that done for you. So
yep, that was my next step.
Yeah, well, and good for you. That's amazing. I'm so excited to hear that you're doing two open houses this weekend. Looks like we got a couple more people online here. Pretty much everything else, Melanie, that you're going to need to know, we're going to go over in this class. So you
Awesome.
picked the right place to be this morning. Hi,
Awesome.
Riley. Hi, Corey.
Well, hello there.
How are you guys doing?
You know, the sun is shining. It is difficult to have these beautiful days. In Minnesota, we're in the low 70s, so feeling pretty grateful.
Same. It's just absolutely like ideal. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in and being here. We may have a guest or two that are not with Keller Williams pop on. So I just kind of like to put that out there and make you guys aware of the fact that we may have a guest joining us, just so you know. But we're going to go ahead and launch into my open house class. And this class came together because you know, I would share my story from time to time as to how I got started in the business. And for those of you who aren't aware, I got into the business about 18 years ago, and we were brand new to Minnesota. We had just relocated to Minnesota, so we didn't have a sphere at all. I didn't, you know, have family, friends, folks I went to high school with, college with, worked with, nothing. And so after being in Minnesota for about a year, I decided to go back to work and got my real estate license. And then panic set in, like, oh my gosh, who's going to want to work with me? Like I guess I'm pretty limited to, you know, the adults in my world right now are limited to like my kids' parents, you know, friends' parents and things of that nature. So I decided to focus on one thing, and that one thing was open houses. And the reason why I chose that was because I wasn't making money in real estate yet. I had just started, and I knew that the only thing that open houses really was going to cost me was my time, in addition to some open house signs, right? So when you first get into the business, if you don't have if you don't have it in your budget to buy open house signs right away, most of you know that we have signs here in the office that you can kind of check out like a library book and use. That's fine, and do that if you don't have signs yet. However, here's what I do want to say. Set the money aside as soon as you can to make that investment, because if you're going to be out on the weekends holding open houses, I don't know about you, but I would want my sign out there on my name, out there on those signs that people are driving by, making them aware of the open house. So I say invest in 4 to 6 signs is really all you need to get started. I would invest in 4 to 6 signs. I think you can get that for a couple of $100 and get your own open house signs created right away. All right. So sometimes I get a little ahead of myself because I get excited, and I just, you know, with questions and stuff, we naturally kind of go into other areas. So bear with me. So the whole idea of holding an open house is to leverage it in order to grow your database and set appointments, right? So of course, listing agents, you know, whether that's you at some point or someone else in the office, if they've got more than a couple of listings, they can't typically hold every single home they have listed open house every weekend. So newbies, and also not newbies, if they're out of listings, rely on other agents in the office to share open house opportunities, right? So what you want to make sure you're doing, if you're not already, is I had a habit every Monday morning. This was before offices had closed Facebook groups. Remember, it was 18 years ago. Every Monday morning, I would go into the office and I would start looking around for agents, and I would look for open house opportunities. And I, unbeknownst to me, sort of trained them to expect to find me every Monday morning, or me find them rather, looking for open house opportunities. So what happened sort of naturally was they knew I'd be coming around the office and knocking on their door. And so they started then saving their open house opportunities for me. So make sure, I guess the point is that you're networking with the agents in our office and that you're putting it out there that you're looking for an open house opportunity, whether you're doing that in person, walking around the office, or you know, you see something on the closed Facebook group, even if you don't see an open house opportunity on the closed Facebook group and you're looking for one, I would encourage you to say, hey, anyone have an open house or anyone have a listing that they want held open this weekend? You will usually find 2, 3, 4 people that have an opportunity. So don't be afraid to ask and, you know, seek one out. Okay. All right. Next slide. I would say that the biggest factor in being successful with your open houses is being consistent in doing them. And the reason why I say that, and I like to point that out, is because I have had plenty of open houses where either A, no one showed up at all, or B, you know, just a handful of people showed up. And I remember leaving those open houses thinking, well, that was a big fat waste of my time. Like I could have spent Sunday afternoon, you know, watching the Vikings with my husband on the couch, or, you know, attending something, you know, other than spending it at an open house that no one walked through. And I had to quickly change my mindset around that, because what became abundantly clear to me one afternoon was that even if I didn't have anyone coming through my open house that Sunday, that open house wasn't a complete failure, because the one thing that I was committed to and good at was consistently holding open houses every single weekend. So I was walking out of church one Sunday, and an old neighbor lady of mine, she had moved out of the neighborhood, came, you know, kind of like running up to me, Erin, hey, hang on a second. I'm like, hey, Marianne, how are you? What's going on? And she's like, I just have to tell you what an inspiration you are. She's like, yeah, I just can't believe how quickly you've taken off in real estate. And I had been in real estate maybe 2 or 3 months at this point. And I'm thinking to myself, what is she talking about? And, you know, I had done a couple pieces of business, but I certainly wasn't, you know, clear on why. She was like, I just want to congratulate you on all the success and how quickly, you know, you're building your business. And I think I probably kind of looked at her, you know, quizzically, and she said, I see your open house signs everywhere. And that's when it dawned on me that just by me consistently doing open houses every weekend and having the signs out there with my name on it, you know, people just assumed that I was really, really busy in real estate. And I was holding open houses, not necessarily selling a ton of real estate, but, you know, I wasn't about ready to correct her. You know, certainly had she asked me directly, like, what kind of business are you doing? I would have been honest with her. But what ended up happening was she referred her sister to me that was going to list her home, because she thought that I was doing all of this real estate business because she saw my open house signs every weekend. Any questions on that at all? On signage? Anything that I've gone over so far? Nope. Okay. And feel free, guys, by the way, to just shout out questions as you have them. I want this to be, you know, very collaborative. So, you know, don't hesitate to unmute yourself and ask away. So as a new agent, holding open houses, I think, is one of the fastest and most cost-effective ways of getting business. Fastest because I look at open houses and people coming through them as sort of, you know, the low-hanging fruit. They're essentially raising their hand. They're looking. Now, I'll give you, there are on occasion folks that just are kind of professional open house visitors, right? They just like to look at homes. HGTV, we have to thank for that. And that's okay. I used to, you know, look at that differently and be slightly annoyed by that. And then I was like, gosh, you know, I can't look at it from that perspective, because that's still a conversation that I can have. And that's still an opportunity for me to make a contact with someone. And even if they aren't ready right now, who's to say that they might not be a month or 2 from now or a year from now? So my goal is always to make an impression, build rapport, and, you know, hopefully get a contact out of it, whether they're ready to buy now or they're ready to buy later. Cost effective, we talked about that. The only thing it costs you to do an open house after you know, invest in signs initially is your time. It's just time preparing for the open house, getting ready for the open house. Melanie, I know that you've got 1, possibly 2 open houses this weekend. Riley or Corey, is anyone else doing any opens this weekend?
Yep, I've got an open house on a co-listing we have over in Lewiston.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay.
Nope, I'm not doing any.
No, Corey? Okay, cool. All right. Here's the other thing. I touched upon this already. Realize not every open house is going to be a success. However, I want you to have the thought process of being committed to doing them consistently all year long. So when I started doing open houses, I was horrible. Horrible. I like laugh when I think about some of the things that I did. That wasn't anything too crazy, but I distinctly remember my very first open house. I think I just went into the office and I looked for one, and there was this nice lady named Leslie who said, I have a house you can hold open. I didn't think to, ask to shadow anyone, because I thought, how hard can this be? I'm going to put a sign in the yard and hold the house open and, say hi to people and hand out flyers, which, there are a lot of agents that conduct open houses that way, and there's nothing wrong with that. But another reason why I like to teach this class is I think if you are going to take time away from your family and take time out of your day to go spend part of your weekend doing an open house, don't you want to be able to, be productive in some way? Like, I just don't want to put a sign in the yard and just kind of be like, yeah, here's a flyer, let me know if you have any questions. You can do that, but you can't expect to get great results from that. So when I committed, my next point is hold open houses weekends, because that's when, on holiday weekends, because that's when the serious buyers are out looking. So people in the office thought I was nuts, because when I say I was all in, I was all in. So for the first 2 years of me being in the business, every single weekend without fail, I was doing open houses. It didn't matter if it was 4th of July weekend, Mother's Day weekend, Easter weekend, Labor Day weekend, I was holding open houses. And as I started to get busy, some of the seasoned agents in the office and the rainmakers in the office were like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing at your open houses that you're getting so busy? And here's what I discovered, again, by accident. I started noticing that on the holiday weekends, my ability to pick up clients was exponential compared to just your standard weekend. And as I analyzed that and looked at it, trying to figure out why, it dawned on me that the serious buyers are out on the holiday weekends, right? Otherwise, they're up at the cabin for the 4th of July, or they're visiting grandma and grandpa for Easter, or they're wherever, anywhere else but holding open houses. So essentially what I had set myself up for was I was doing open houses on the weekends when no one else wanted to, or I was doing open houses with all the other newbies who were taking, whatever bone, the experienced agents would throw at them in order to have an opportunity to hold an open house. And because I was new and I was likely competing against other new agents holding open houses throughout the city, I did so many of them that I was probably one of the more experienced newer agents holding open houses, if that makes sense. So I would have agents give me a hard time. I can't believe that you're going to hold an open house on, Easter weekend. That just doesn't seem right. Or no one's going to come through it. And, what I discovered was even if 1 or 2 people came through it, they were typically really serious buyers, because, either they were relocating or they sold their house and they had to find something, or it was a divorce or whatever, right? There's a multitude of reasons, but your serious buyers are out on holiday weekends. Now, I'm not suggesting that you guys give up every single holiday weekend to do open houses, but I will say that if you want to get your real estate business up and running very quickly, do it. I would do it, right? Okay, any questions on that? All right, either I've put y'all to sleep or I'm hitting it out of the park. I'm going to go with hitting it out of the park. All right, be strategic and pick a winner. So once the agents in the office knew, hey, Erin's willing to hold open houses, I'll save my open houses for Erin and give her those opportunities, I began to become more strategic in the open houses that I would choose to hold, because now I had, the pick of the litter. And what I mean by that is I would intentionally look for homes in a particular price range that had a lot of active buyers. And what kind of buyers or what kind of price range do you guys think has a lot of active buyers in it? Let's get some of you talking here. Take a guess.
I'd say right around the 200,000.
Yeah, right, Melanie. First-time home buyers. There's a ton of them, because not everyone can afford a $400,000 or $500,000, $600,000 home, right? So there are a lot more buyers in the lower end price range, and I think there are a lot of people that think, yeah, it sounds really awesome and sexy to hold a $500,000 listing open. It's a bigger commission. And yes, that can be true. However, they're also more particular. They're also a little bit more savvy and educated, which there's nothing wrong with that. But what I found was the first time home buyers are hungry for information. And what I also found was not all agents holding open houses were willing to take the time to educate first time home buyers. And so when I would look for an open house opportunity, I would look for price ranges that I felt were very active. And that was typically the first time home buyer price ranges. Okay. I would also look for newly listed homes. We're kind of in an interesting, dynamic right now with the market that we find ourselves in today, right? So a lot of homes are being sold before the signs are even being installed in the yard. So it is more challenging to find open house opportunities because they're selling so quickly. When we have one of our listings up in the cities sell right away, that's great. It's always a good thing. But if it's contingent upon a home inspection and they haven't had that home inspection and the weekend's rolling around, you bet I'm going to schedule an open house on that. I will let folks know coming through that we have an offer on it, but it's also my duty to try and elicit backup offers if I can for my seller, because you never know what's going to come of that inspection. And also, I want to try and squeeze as many open houses out of every single one of my listings as I possibly can because they're selling so quickly. So I would look for newly listed homes because everybody wants to get into the new listing. I would look for homes that have done a recent price reduction. We aren't seeing a ton of that because of the multiple offers. And, if there is a listing that's been languishing on the market for a little while and they've done a recent price reduction, that's always a good thing to focus on as well. Because like brand new listings, when there's a recent price reduction that's done on a home, people want to get in and see it because sometimes it puts it into, their price point, whereas before it wasn't on their radar. I also, if it's not my listing, I want to look at how the listing appears online. So I'll go into MLS and I'll look and see what the pictures look like. Does it look like, the listing agent did professional photos and it shows really well? Like, would I be excited to go and walk through this property over the weekend? So you want to check out online presence. And then as I started to get really good traction and begin to pick up clients at open houses, I started holding 2 open houses, and I would be strategic in that and pick open houses that were in a similar price range. So I might on a Sunday do an open house from 11 to 1 and then go do another one close by from 1:30 to 3:30. I think, do you guys only do open houses for an hour down here? Who can answer that for me? We do them for 2 hours up in the cities.
We've done them like 11 to 2 or 11 to 1.
Okay, so you guys do 11 to, oh,
Yep.
okay, you've even done 3-hour ones. Okay. So what I would do is so I live in Lakeville. I'm going to use Lakeville as an example. I would pick up a open house on a Sunday from 11 to 1 that was listed at $250, and then I might pick up another open house right afterwards listed at $260 or another $250, something similar, so that when I held the first open house, if that didn't work for that buyer for a particular reason, let's just say they said, you know what, I really like the house, Erin, but it's got a walk-through master bath and I prefer a private master bath. I'd be like, oh, you know what, I'm closing the open house today at 1 o'clock and I'm going to be holding another one at 1:30 not far from here that has that private master bath. You should stop by. So I was always looking for ways to try and get myself in front of people coming through at least one more time, whether it was making them aware of another open house that I was holding, or maybe making them aware of a property that was not yet on the market that I was aware of. That's why things like our coming soon buyer needs and listings are a really good tool for you guys to look at a couple times a week, and certainly before the weekend when you do an open house. If you guys aren't aware of what I'm talking about, during our team meetings and saved on our shared Google Drive that you guys have access to 24/7 is a spreadsheet that we've created where our agents can go in and post buyer needs. Like, I have a buyer looking for 2-story in Rochester up to $250, or I have a listing that's coming soon that's a rambler, you know, in Casson at, you know, 300. So I always made it a point to make sure that I was networking with the agents with inside of the office and paying attention to what other listings might be coming on, so that when I held my open houses that weekend, if they came through something that I was holding open, and, you know, I always ask the question, what did you think of the home? You know, is it missing anything that is a must have for you? And I would pay close attention to their answers and what they would say. And I would you know, be going through my mind, like a Rolodex, the houses that I was aware of, to try and see if there was something that I could maybe match them with. And a script that I like to use in open houses when I'm aware of a property is, hey, I'm closing the open house at 1 o'clock today. I am aware of a property that sounds very, very similar to what you're describing. I really think that it's something you might want to see. I could meet you there at 1:30 for a private showing. Would it be helpful if I scheduled a showing for us to go and meet and see the property? And I always, a lot of times, that tactic would work because people want to be aware of and see the houses that other people might not be aware of yet. They want to be the first one in, right? And my thought philosophy always was, if I was able to get into them, or if I was able to get in front of them a second time, they were mine to lose. So it's all about getting that second appointment if you can while they're there at the open house. Any questions on that? Nope. Okay. All right, so the next thing that I do is I make sure I gather my tools. So Melanie, we talked about this earlier. I create colored flyers for my open houses, and it's usually a picture of the house. It's some stats and details about the house, and then somewhere on the flyer, it's got my picture, my name, my contact information. So if I'm going to be taking the time to go and hold an open house, I want to make sure I'm getting my name out there, and I'm, you know, sharing flyers with my information on it. So it is common practice for you to be able to go and hold someone else's open house and bring in your own flyers. Here's the key though, be very respectful of the fact that it's their listing, and remove those flyers when you go. So in other words, don't leave them behind, because then that can cause confusion with the seller. It's like, okay, well, I thought Nick Stoggeberg was my listing agent. You know, why is Aaron Duckworth's flyers on my kitchen counter when I get home? You don't want to put Nick in an awkward situation to where he has to kind of explain that. So it's okay, and it's very common practice for you to bring your own things in. Just remove them when you go. Always too, while we're on that topic, if you're holding an open house for someone else, treat it better than if it were your own listing. And here's why. You want to be able to take advantage of open house opportunities again in the future. So, you know, arrive early, make sure that you shut off the lights, lock up, leave the house in the condition that it was before you got there, provide feedback to the listing agent right away. And if you do those things, they're likely going to want to continue to give you open house opportunities. I do want you guys to be aware, this may seem elementary to you. You might be like, well, duh, Aaron, we knew that. But sometimes it's not for everyone. If you pick up a lead at someone's open house, that's your lead. You don't have to pay the listing agent any kind of referral fee on that. You certainly shouldn't be giving the contact information of your lead to the listing agent. The expectation is, or the reward, so to speak, of holding someone else's open house is that you get to run with any leads that you might pick up. Okay, make sense? All right. So it's so hard because I can't see you guys. So you're gonna wanna make sure you have colored flyers. I would always print a list of alternative homes priced just above and just below the house I was holding open, so that if that person did come in and say, yeah, you know, I really love it, but it's a 2-car garage and I really want a 3, then I would, while they were looking at another part of the house, I would quickly leaf through my alternative homes that are priced in around the same price range to see if I could find a 3-car garage, so that when they came back down around to the kitchen area, I could say, hey, you know, I'm aware of a property that is very similar to what you described. Do you want to go look at it after the open house? So just make sure that you are doing your homework ahead of time with regard to the inventory and what else might be available, because 9 times out of 10, The person coming through the open house, the house isn't going to work for them for one reason or another. Now, on occasion, you know, I had plenty of open houses where I had people come through and I sold them the house that I was holding open. So that does happen, but more often than not, the house isn't going to work for them for some reason or another. Okay, so list of alternative homes. Signs, of course, we talked about that. Name tag if you have one. Business cards to hand out. Open house registration or notepad or laptop. Some people will use their iPad as a form to let people sign into open houses. Now here's where I'm just going to be extra transparent with you guys. I have gone both ways with open houses, from a perspective of I've had required registration and I don't have any sort of registration form out at all. And I don't know what the right answer to that is, but I've played around with both. And here's my take on it for me personally. You guys have to make this choice for you, yourself, and your businesses. Some people will use the script of the seller requires that everyone coming through the open house must register. Okay, I've done that before. And sometimes you'll get people that comply and cooperate. Sometimes you'll get people who act like they didn't hear you at all when you know that they did, and they'll just ignore you. And sometimes you'll get people who will, what I call faux fill it out. They'll fill it out, but they'll put in an incorrect email address or phone number or whatever. Here's my take on it. If someone is going to want to share their information with me, or I'm going to request it, I want them to want to give it to me, right? Because I only want to be working with people who are engaged and who are serious. And I always try and put myself also in the shoes of the buyer. And if I were going through a place, or I wanted to go, because I mean, going through an open house is like shopping. If I wanted to go shoe shopping and I walked into a store and they required me to register, that might turn me off. And however, if I get into the store and I like some shoes and I have some questions and I engage a salesperson, I might willingly give up my information to say, oh, okay, you don't have the size 7 that I need. Well, here's my contact information. Call me when you do. So the way that I work my open houses is I no longer require any kind of registration or I no longer require any kind of registration. But what I will have is I'll have a notepad with me. And as I'm conversing with people and asking questions and things of that nature, you know, if I feel like we're starting to build rapport, then I might say, oh, you know what, that's awesome. I do, or I am aware of a property that I think might meet your needs. Do you mind if I just grab your email and I'll shoot you an email after the open house? So I take more of that approach versus like, you must sign in. Because I know at that point, if they're willing to give up their information and share it with me, it's likely valid and they're serious and are wanting my help. All right. Okay, so advertise early. We talked about this earlier too before you hopped on, Riley and Corey. Melanie's like, how do I advertise the open house and who advertises the open house? It's up to you guys to advertise your open houses. However, if you are holding an open house for another agent, I would send them an email or give them a call and say, hey, would you mind going into MLS and just booking an open house on Saturday from 12 to 2, whatever day and time it is you're holding it. The reason why you can't do it is because it's their listing, so they have to go in and do it. Or you could ask Christina at the front desk too to do it for you. So you want to go into MLS and you want to put in the open house. And my system was I would look for an open house on Mondays. I would usually land an open house by Monday, and I would immediately put the open house into MLS or have someone put it in for me on Monday, because then it's being advertised all week long versus waiting until Friday to put it in, and then it's only advertising for 24 or 48 hours before the open house. I then would also post it on my social media. So, you know, I want to get that out there as much as possible. When I first got into real estate, you guys, we all did newspaper ads, and I would spend, you know, a couple $1,000s a month just on newspaper ads. And I thank the Lord and sweet baby Jesus that that's fallen by the wayside. I mean, I haven't paid for or run a newspaper ad in years. It's all done online. And that's where 99.9% of buyers are looking for houses anyway. They're going online. They're not looking in the local paper. All right. So advertise your open house early on all your social media. Door knock, invite neighbors. As a newer agent, I don't do this so much anymore, but I would probably get some good traction out of it if I did. is I would get to the neighborhood early, like maybe an hour early, maybe even 30 minutes early, depending on how much time you have and how much time you want to invest. If you're in it to win it, you're going to get there an hour early. And I would go door knock the neighborhood. And I would say, hey, my name is Erin Duckworth. I'm with Keller Williams. I don't know if you saw, the for sale sign of your neighbors a few doors down, but I'm holding an open house there from 12 to 2. And so I just wanted to invite you over. Sometimes neighbors just like to kind of take a peek at the other houses in the neighborhood. And also, too, statistics show us that when a house goes for sale in a neighborhood, within 90 days, 1 or 2 other sellers list their home. So while I'm here, I'm just curious, have you thought about selling recently, or are you interested in me possibly doing a market analysis on your home? So you could do that as a way to elicit contacts and get more people to come through your open houses. Or another script that I would say is, I find that neighbors like to pick their new neighbor. Do you know of anyone who loves your neighborhood or would want to come through the open house? I'd love for you to give them my card or send them over today. Next one, put your signs out early. So if I'm doing an open house from 12 to 2, I'm usually going out around 8 or 9 that morning and putting my signs out, because I want them out all day, because that means people are driving by them or walking by them or biking by them all day long, and they're seeing my name. So I don't put the sign in the yard until right before I open the open house, because if you do that, then you're going to get crappy homeowners who are saying the open house doesn't start till noon, and I had someone knocking on my door at 10 o'clock this morning. So get your signs out there early. You can hang an open house rider from most signs. It's just something you can go and get at CMAR. I think they sell them there, where it just open Sunday 12 to 2. So you can put that out there to just pre-advertise. You want to get the word out. And then there are some platforms that you can subscribe to, like RedX and Vulcan 7, which will give you addresses within like a mile radius, a half mile radius. If you want to get on the phones and spend time that way promoting your open house, calling people, just inviting them, hey, Erin Duckworth here, Keller Williams. I'm going to be holding an open house this weekend at 123 Maple. Just wanted to make you aware. I'm making some calls to the local folks, things of that nature. Any questions? Nope? Okay. I'll keep moving. Know your market. Here is where I talked about earlier, consistency is where you win, being consistent in this form of lead gen and doing it and being committed to it. The next thing is be the area expert. Know your market. Again, knowing your market and spending time tooling around on MLS, looking at houses in the area where you're going to hold your open house doesn't cost you anything but your time. So if I'm holding an open house this weekend in Rochester for $250, I am going to go into MLS and look at everything listed in Rochester between $250 and $260. I'm going to bookend it, 10,000 under and 10,000 over, so that when I go to hold that open house and someone says, yeah, this isn't going to work for me because of X, Y, or Z, I am going to have in my mind a list of homes, and hopefully I've printed those alternative homes as well. But I take the time to go through every single listing on MLS. I click through all the photos. I read all of the comments so that that stuff is fresh in my mind. So research the MLS for current actives in the price range you're holding open, and know who your competition is inside and out. That just takes a small investment of time. I would also research the MLS for recent sales in the neighborhood and the price range, so that if people, I've had this happen to me before. Most of this stuff I've learned through trial and error. If you're holding an open house and someone comes through and they're like, hey, what did that house 3 doors down sell for? You don't want to be like, ooh, I don't know. I mean, you could, and it wouldn't be the worst thing, but I want to be that agent who's like, oh yeah, it was listed at 325 and it was on the market for 7 days and it went pending. We don't know what it sold for yet, but clearly it was priced well because it sold quickly. You want to be able to have those kind of conversations, because that builds credibility in you and confidence then in the people that are walking through the open house. Also familiarize yourself with the schools attached to the homes and any neighborhood amenities. Again, learned this one the hard way. I held an open house one time for another agent, and it was in one of those neighborhoods that it was kind of like tucked away towards the front corner of the neighborhood. And I didn't preview it. I didn't drive the neighborhood ahead of time. I didn't do my homework, and I'm holding the open house and people are asking questions about the park and the neighborhood and the HOA fees. I didn't know it had its own park in the neighborhood. I didn't know it had its own swimming pool in the neighborhood. So, I felt foolish, and I think I faked it somehow, like, oh, let me see if I can gather that information for you. But it would have looked much better, and I would have presented much better if I would have said, oh yeah, the HOA fees are $150 a quarter. That includes the neighborhood pool. There's a great park down around the corner over a block. By the way, the schools that are attached to it are, Cherry View Elementary, Century Middle School, and, North High School. Again, folks are looking to us to be the neighborhood expert. So be that person. All right. The morning of your open house, what do? We talked already about getting your signs out early. Use as many as possible. Dress the part. You want to project a professional image. Not saying that, Riley's got to show up in a suit and tie, right? But, business casual. Dress the part. Arrive 15 minutes early to set the stage. That was always a struggle for me because I was always running out the door to make it to my open house and, screeching my tires as I'm pulling in with 2 minutes to spare. And that's just not a good feeling. I've arrived at open houses before where there's people already sitting out front waiting in the car. And I'm trying to gather my stuff inside my car to schlep it into the house. And I'm trying to open the lockbox. And that's just not a fun place to be or a great way to start your open house because you're typically anxious and you're rushing and you're not able to, greet your folks that are coming through the open house in a way that, is relaxed and inviting. So arrive early if you can to what I say, set the stage, which is go in, turn on the lights, put on the game if it's, basketball, football, or baseball season, whatever. Turn on some music if you want, like create a fun, warm, inviting environment. And then I put out my business cards and my flyers, and then I'll do a quick walkthrough of the home to familiarize myself with it. Ideally, I would have scheduled a preview earlier in the week and said to the listing agent, hey, do you mind if I just go quick walk through it just to become familiar with the property? But that wasn't always possible. So again, all the more reason to show up a little bit early so that you can walk through the house and familiarize yourself with it. All right, you're open for business. Now what? You want to make sure that you greet everyone with a warm welcome and eye contact. And my script is super simple. It's either, hi, my name is Erin, I'm the listing agent, thank you so much for coming out, or it's, hi, my name is Erin, I'm holding the open house today for whomever, thank you so much for coming out. I'll hand them a flyer, and I make sure I take a few steps back so I'm not all up in their, business. And I might initially ask, I'll say something to the effect of, do you mind if I hit a couple highlights of the home that might not necessarily be apparent to you just walking through the house? And they'll say, sure. And I'll say, okay, well, the backyard extends to this, or something that might not necessarily be apparent. Or maybe I'll tell them, the roof was just replaced last month, or the mechanicals are new. I'll give them some sort of information with regard to the home. And then I say to them, like if they seem warm and approachable, I'll say, so what brings you out today? Are you looking to buy? Are you just sort of, curious and starting the search? And depending on what they say will determine whether or not I stand there and try to engage them, or if I just say, you know what, I'll be in the kitchen, take your time, go look at the house. If you have any questions, let me know. And as you circle back to the kitchen area, I might just ask you what you think. I'm super low key that way, very relaxed. I let them go through the home. As a new agent, I followed them around room to room like a lost puppy dog, asking questions. And it probably drove most of them away, right? Instead of engaging them and building rapport, it likely turned them off. So the other thing that I do is I attempt to assess their personality profile when I'm asking questions. Like, so what brings you out today? I'm trying to get to know their personality. Are they very direct in their responses to me? Are they very warm and fuzzy in their responses to me? Are they someone who immediately asks for data because they're numbers driven? So I attempt to do a quick needs analysis on their personality style. And then what I will do is I will then modify my approach to them. Not that I'm being disingenuous or not really being me, I'm a high I and I'm a high D. So I'm the warm and fuzzy, but I'm also very direct. Like I'll ask a question to get the answer. And if I have someone who's very numbers driven and focused, and I meet them with a really high I, you know, like, hi, my name is Erin, and I'm acting as though they're my best friend and I've just met them, they're not going to relate to me. It's going to turn them off. Or, you know, if it's a high D and they're coming in and they just want the facts and they don't want all of the fuzzy in between, you know, that might turn them off as well. So I try to adapt my personality in communicating with them to mirror and match theirs. You guys have probably heard the mirror and matching philosophy before. You're looking for a way to connect with them and build rapport. So if I meet that high C, who is someone who is a numbers person, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, my normal rate of speech is pretty quick clip, and you know, it's high energy. So if I meet a high C, then I know that I need to slow my speech down. I probably need to lower my tone, and I need to do a lot more listening than speaking. And once I figured that out and studied the different personalities, I began to connect with people at a much higher level. Riley, did you want to say something? Oh, okay. Awesome. Any questions on the DISC or the needs analysis at all? Okay, looks like we have one person who just joined us. They might be in their car. You just might want to mute yourself because we can hear you. And thank you for joining us. Ah, hi there. How are you?
Yeah, fine.
Good. Thanks for joining us. You're welcome to join us, but you might want to hit mute because we can hear you.
Okay, I'll mute you.
Okay. And then as I'm building that rapport and sort of assessing their personality, doing the quick needs analysis, that's when I am likely going to offer information on that list of alternative homes that I have. And then one key component that I failed to do for years, and my husband was holding an open house with me one day, and he is like an off the charts D, very direct, like just out of the blue, like said, well, if you're not working with anyone, you know, we'd love to work for you. You know, we'd love to be your agent. And the Minnesota nice in me kind of went, and I just like held my breath because it was so direct. And I'm usually that person that's trying to build rapport and trying to, you know, connect before I just go right in for the kill. And the guy responded immediately, and he was like, you know what, Steve, he goes, we've been to 3 open houses today, and you're the first person who's asked me for my business. I would love to work with you. And I was like, oh my gosh, it works. So I always like to remind people, it's very simple, but don't forget to ask for the business, especially if you feel like things are going well and that rapport is being built. Which leads me to, you know, we're all taught in real estate school, if they're working with an agent or they're under contract with someone else, what are we supposed to do? Who can tell me?
Nothing.
Right. We're not supposed to interfere with another agent's contract, correct? So if someone comes in and says, yeah, I'm working with Susie Q from ABC Realty, then what I do is I say, okay, awesome. Here's a flyer. Let me know if you have any questions. And then I'm going to redirect and start initiating conversations with someone else in the room, right? Because they have just told me they're working with someone. So one of the reasons, so I never asked that question. I used to as a new agent. So are you working with anyone? And I stopped doing that. And it's one of the reasons why I also stopped making them pre-register when they come in, because one of the questions on the form is, are you working with someone? And here's why. Hear me out. It's not because I'm trying to break rules. I want you guys to stop and think about the last time you went shopping and you were in a hurry and you knew exactly what you wanted and you were just going to run into the store and grab something quick and get out. And you pass 4 salespeople on the way to the item that you're going to retrieve. And they say, hi, welcome to so-and-so. Are you, can I help you? And what's your answer? Nope, just looking, because you don't want to engage them. You don't want to have that conversation. You just want to go and get what you need or go and look at what you need without any interference from anyone else. So what do you think happens when someone walks into an open house and one of the first questions you ask them is, so are you working with someone? Whether they are or they aren't, what do you think they're going to say?
They're going to say they are so that you don't bother them.
Exactly. They're going to say, yeah. And I always say, so if that does come up on its own, I'll say, oh, who are you working with? Oh, And it's so funny because 9 times out of 10, they don't remember the name. And maybe they legitimately just don't remember the name, or maybe it's that they're really not working with someone, right? So here is how I uncover whether or not they're working with someone without actually asking them. Okay, because when I ask them and they tell me yes, I gotta stop, right? Like I can still answer questions, but I can't attempt to try and build that rapport and pick them up as a client of my own, right? So what I do instead is I would say, so Melanie, let's role play here, Melanie, for a second. I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Okay.
Be good though. This is good. This is practice for you. So Melanie, what brings you out to the open house today?
Oh, just looking, trying to get a feel for what's on the market.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for coming out. Here's a flyer with some, details with regard to the home. I like to keep track of how people find out about our open houses. How did you happen to find out about the open house today?
I saw the signs in the neighborhood.
Okay, awesome. So I've asked her a couple of questions that she could have said, well, you know what, my realtor sent it to me, right? Or, there's a million different ways she could have gone where, that might have popped out. So I tried to ask them leading questions that would help uncover whether or not they're working with someone. I might say something like, oh, Melanie, that's awesome. How long have you been looking?
Oh, 2 weeks. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Awesome. Have you made an offer on anything yet?
I haven't quite found what I'm looking for yet.
Okay, perfect. So again, if I'm asking, have you made an offer on anything yet? And she's working with someone and has, then that's likely going to come out. Yeah, I wrote an offer. It was multiple offers. We were like 1 of 5 offers and we didn't get it. I'm so bummed. Well, that's a pretty good indication that she's working with an agent if she's put an offer in on something. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so instead of just going right for it and saying, so are you working with someone? Ask other questions and try to build rapport, because if you build that rapport and they start to let their guard down and feel comfortable with you, then they may consider giving you their information voluntarily, or they may consider meeting you after the open house to go see another property. That's another one of my litmus tests is I'll say, hey, I'm aware of this other property. I close at 2. Let's go meet there at 2:30 and I'll show it to you. Now, if they're under contract with someone, what should they be saying to me at that point?
No, I've already got an agent and,
Exactly.
I'll get in touch with them.
Exactly. But if they don't, they say, yeah, I think I can make 2:30 work. Chances are they're not working with anyone, right? And if I can get in front of them a second time, what did I tell you guys earlier? They're mine to lose. Okay. All right. Let's see. Offer to provide additional information on U.S. alternative homes. We talked about that. Ask for the business. We talked about that. Okay. So I always like to spend a little bit of time talking about safety, right? So boom, watch out for the creepers. This is why I think it's important when you first get to a home to get there a little early, set the stage. If it's a house with a walkout basement, I'll go down, I'll make sure that that patio door is locked or that the door is locked. I'm going to walk through the home. I typically never follow clients upstairs or downstairs unless I'm really comfortable or I know them, or maybe there is another agent that's holding the open house with me. My husband and I would a lot of times hold open houses together. So if he was there, I would feel comfortable doing that. And what I will say is always, always, always follow your gut instinct. If something feels off or not right, remove yourself from the situation. It is okay to go outside with your cell phone and make a phone call or to leave. If you're ever holding an open house for me and you have to do that, I am never going to be upset with you. I'm never going to fault you for following your gut instinct if something made you feel funny. It's always good practice to let someone know if you're holding an open house, where the address of where you're holding it, what time you're holding it for. I think it's good to check in with them before the open house. I think it's, good to check in with them after the open house. In other words, just use, caution and common sense and just always be cognizant of your surroundings. Okay. All right. Follow up is where you win. I cannot stress this enough. You can collect all of the names and contact information humanly possible at an open house. But if they're on Post-it notes that never get entered into your database, that's not going to do you any good, right? So most agents, my goodness, if you're going to take the time to hold an open house and go through all the steps that I've just shared with you guys in this class, why in the world wouldn't you follow up with the contacts that you receive, right? So my system was every Sunday night, whether I held open houses on Saturday or Sunday or both, on Sunday evenings, I would take about an hour to take all of the contacts that I made over the weekend and put them into my database, set them up on maybe automated searches in MLS, or set them up on a drip campaign. But I would get into the habit of doing that every single Sunday night, because then I wouldn't forget, right? And it was just what I did. And then Monday morning, I would network with other agents for coming soons. I would look at, our Google sheet that we have in the office that lists the coming soons or the buyer needs, so that I had information that I could tell buyers about to get that second meeting with them. And then I would always create a task to follow up with them within 24 hours of the open. Hey, did you get the automated search that I set you up on? Or, hey, I became aware of a house that sounds like it might be ideal and meet your needs. Are you interested in seeing it? All right, so that concludes how to go rock your open houses. So any questions, any concerns, any thoughts that you guys have that you want to run by me, or scripts that you are interested in hearing?
Well, this might sound like a dumb question, but you made the comment of putting on the game or putting on music in the background or something. Do you recommend any particular type of music? Should it be like no words music? Can you just throw on like a country station on your, is there anything that's kind of faux pas, or does it really not matter?
I would say you can put on just about anything. I would obviously steer clear of anything with swear words or anything like highly, religious that could be polarizing.
Sure.
You want to try and make whatever it is you're doing appeal to the masses. So anything that could be offensive, which I guess technically you could say that could be country music or anything, right? It just depends on the person. So I would just err on the side of like light listening kind of music, something along those lines. But that's not a dumb question, Melanie. That's a great question. What else? If it's in the winter, I'll throw on the fireplace. You want to set an ambiance, and you want to create a cozy atmosphere that is warm and inviting and welcoming. And during Viking season, I always have the game on, whether I'm a fan or not, or would sit and actually watch the game or not. It's on because folks coming through want to see what's happening with the game. What else you guys got? What other questions do you have?
I know I'll think of 100 after I leave the site, of course.
Well, here's the good news. You know where to find me.
This is true.
So you should, if you don't already, have my cell phone number saved as a contact in your phone. So
I do. You bet I do.
Okay, good. I'm always, I hope you guys all know this, willing to answer questions and help out anytime I can. So if something pops up, Melanie, as you're either holding your open houses this weekend or as you're preparing for it, shoot me a text. You can call anytime. You're likely going to get a faster response with a text message just because, I'm bouncing around from appointment to appointment most days. But, I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. So I want to thank you guys. I hope that you all are, able to take a nugget or two away from this class today and implement it into your open houses in the future. And I would love to hear your success stories and have you share any success stories with me that you might come across. So
this was super helpful, Erin. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. And it's perfect timing for you with your open houses this weekend. Good luck. I can't wait to hear how they went.
I'm excited and scared.
Yeah, no, you'll be fine. You're going to crush it.
It'll be good.
But everyone else also too, thanks guys for tuning in. And as always, you know where to find me. Reach out if I can help in any way, okay?
Thank you, Erin.
You bet. Bye. Bye, guys.
Thanks a lot.